Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to my channel and, of course, to another video. So, thank you so much for tuning in and stopping by my channel. Now, today we're going to talk a little bit about being confident as a creative. And I chose to do this video because of an experience I had recently. So, I was asked to represent my principal at a function. And when I walked in to the building, I went direct to the receptionist and I was talking to them, asking them about where to go, etc., where the event is being held and who I was, etc. And one of the lady looked at me, and when I said to them that I am from Edna Manley College, etc., she said, "Say the drum and dance and them something there?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And then she said, "That's why you're so confident, because you walk in a place so confident. I wish I was that confident. Why I couldn't do them something they become in have a confidence." And when she said that, I simply looked at her and said to her, "You do have the confidence, because the fact that you're able to say all of what you said to me just now, it means you have the confidence to do that. Because if you have the confidence to say all of that to me, it means you have the confidence to do drama, dance, and all of those things." And so I want to talk a little bit about, as a creative, what it's like to journey towards my own self-confidence, because people see me all the time and people always say, "Boy, you're so confident, you're this, etc." But that did not come overnight, and I'm sure there are many other persons out there who are battling with self-doubt, even if you're not a creative, but just as a human being. And so I want to share with you what I did and some things that I would recommend that you try to do to help to build your own confidence. And in the space that we're living in, we tend to look at external beauty, yes, for validation and self-worth, and then we overlook the other things. And so some people think that if I am not as beautiful as, if I don't dress as lovely as, then I can't find confidence. And that's a myth and that's a lie. And we don't want to get ourselves equated in that, because confidence is something internal. It's internal and it's an ongoing process. And the truth is, sometimes our self doubts that we battle with sometimes come from our own past experiences or whatever traumas we may be experiencing. And so we don't see ourselves as valuable enough or talented enough or capable enough. And so we walk into a room, and when we walk into a room, we walk with our eyes on the floor, or we try to get small because we become afraid. Yes, so in the presence of others, we are unable to really open with chin up, eyes in front of you, shoulders back, and just try to make yourself have some presence. And so we want to just look at some things that we want to do and try to see if we can get it correct. Now, one of the first things I would recommend to persons who are trying to build their confidence is to set achievable goals. Yes, and do them little by little. Set achievable goals and try to accomplish them little by little. So don't pay attention to the person who is accomplishing everything at once. We all move at different pace. And so you need to set achievable goals. Now, for me, as a creative, now when COVID hit, right? When COVID hit and everything went under, even the entertainment industry, and theaters were not open, schools were online, there was little to no interaction, etc. It was hard for a number of us, including me as a creative who generally had a very busy schedule, and going here and there and doing so many things. And one of the things that also took a hit was my workout regime. Yes, and I've struggled to get back into the game with my fitness regime. And one of the things I have done is that I promised myself that every day my goal is to get to the gym. That's my goal for the day. every day. So the goal is not related to my work, it's not related to creating, but it's related to just achieving one thing, and that is to get to the gym every day. And I believe in myself that once I can make that commitment and get to the gym every day, I would have accomplished the goal that I set out to accomplish, and then every other thing comes after. And eventually I started adding more things, and I have been in the gym a year now consistently, because that's the commitment I made to myself. Now, you have to start by fulfilling simple promises to yourself, because that's how you get to the bigger goal. Yes. And so whenever it is that I decide as a creative to also take on any task, whether it's something for my student, it is also to read a book, it's to also read a script, it's to ensure that I give a good performance of self. I try to keep my promises to myself, because that's a test of my own commitment. And when you can keep promises to yourself, then chances are you'll be able to accomplish other things. And so I would recommend that you set small goals. Make sure they're achievable and they're realistic, because sometimes we set some big goal. You know what? Today I'm going to eat healthy. I'm only going to eat this today. No, maybe your goal could be to eat one healthy meal for the day. Right? That may be the goal. So start small, and then eventually you add the other things, and those accomplishing the small things, will allow you to start feeling better about yourself. Another thing that I do as a creative is to ensure that the circles I find myself in, what I call friends, are people who mean me well. Yes? So you have to evaluate your circle at all times and try to decide if this circle is for you. Because the truth is, sometimes you're in a space with some people, and in that space, not everybody means the same success for you. And so the feedback that you will get, the criticisms that you'll get, are never criticisms that are uplifting or things that will help you to do better. Now, as a creative, whenever I have any type of creative work to do, I always find some genuine people, some people who have always followed my journey, always followed my progress, had a good word of advice to give, be it positive or negative, but something that can help me grow, to give me feedback on my work. So I would, if I'm directing a play, I'd call them in to say, this is where I'm at, this is what I have, what do you think? Give me some feedback on it. Or they come to watch the play, I get the feedback, I sit and I take the criticisms with grace, because I know they are coming from a good place. But in order for you to have that, it means you have to surround yourself with people who are willing to be honest with you, but in a way that's practical, and in a way that is what? Yeah, that is valuable, and in a way that is constructive, because what you want is constructive feedback to help. You also want to surround yourself with people who are confident. If all of you in a space or in a group where you have all of you are not confident, you're all self-doubters, you don't believe in yourself, etc., then what is going to happen? Nobody will be there to encourage the other to be brave enough to step forward. And so you have to surround yourself with people who are more confident and who inspires you. Yes, to be better individuals, who encourage you to be better, who can see the good and acknowledge the good in you and encourage you to do well. Because remember, not everyone around you might want the same for you, and sometimes people might just get a little jealous, and so they will not give you constructive feedback that can assist you to grow, even though you're relying on it. Now, I remember I had 2 students, and I'm sharing these stories because and these have been my experiences, and so I'm sharing them with you. And both of them were slow learners. But because they were slow learners, they stuck to each other, because they recognized that their abilities were different from the other students within the class. And when I would say to them, you have to get somebody to read over your work, yes, and give you some feedback, assist you with your grammar, what they would do, they would find comfort in each other, because both of them were slow, they understood their abilities were different, and so they found comfort in that kind of dysfunctional relationship. And so while they were good friends, Yes, they were not capable of assisting each other to become better at writing because they both were at the same level and didn't understand properly the use of grammar, syntax, etc. And so they really weren't helping each other. And when I realized that they became comfortable with each other, they say, but Miss, I asked this person to read it and I did ask this person to read it. I realized that they were staying in their comfort zone because of fear and their own lack of confidence. And one of the things that I had to do as a teacher of the class, I had to step in, yes, and assign them to a student who was stronger than they were. And when I did that, over time, I saw the improvement in the work, and eventually when they built the relationship, they became better, and eventually they became more confident in producing the work because they started learning. This is because they were now working with somebody who understood more than they did. And so one second point, always make sure you evaluate your circle to make sure that the persons who are around you are persons who can encourage you to be better at what you do, give you positive and constructive criticism, and help you to become better. The third thing you can do is to pay attention to your own self-care and your own appearance. And yes, we are not saying confidence is beauty, but sometimes when you fix up yourself nice, and you put on one of your nice outfit, and you comb your hair and you do whatever you're doing to yourself and you step out, you feel good. You feel good about yourself, because when you're dolled up and you look into that mirror and you see yourself and you're satisfied with what you see in that mirror, when you walk outside with a sense of confidence and a sense of peace, and that doesn't shake easily. Because you first have to acknowledge that you look good. Once you can tell yourself that, somebody outside may not tell you, yes, but the part of the challenge is that we rely on external forces for validation, and when we don't get the compliment outside, then we had a problem. I remember I was at rehearsal one day and we were all talking about confidence and how we feel. And surprisingly, one of the young ladies said that, boy, if she puts her clothes on and she goes on the road and nobody says to her, you look nice, she feels very deflated. She doesn't feel good. She feels like she's the worst and she's the ugliest, etc. And that took me a little bit by surprise, because she is such a gorgeous lady. I wouldn't have known that she was battling with those levels of self-doubt. And so but it starts with you. You have to first put your clothes on, look at yourself, acknowledge that, boy, today I look fabulous. And then you walk outside feeling fabulous. Walk like you look fabulous, talk like you look fabulous, interact with others as if you look fabulous. Because the truth is, people who don't know you, when you walk into a space, yes, the first thing they see is you. It's your image, it's your appearance. And so you want to sometimes start by making a good impression. Yes, if you are a performer and you walk on the stage to perform, and when you walk on stage, your head is down, etc. And when you try to talk to the people, they can hardly hear you. Yes, your general demeanor and carriage is wrong. Then immediately you lose people. But if you walk with that air of confidence and that air that says, I believe, and says, this is how I look, people automatically see and people gravitate towards you. And so therefore, you have to make sure that you try to maintain a self-image that is acceptable to you, and one that will allow you, when you go into particular spaces, for you to establish your presence. Because how you attire and how you carry yourself can positively impact your own perception of self. Yes. Another thing that you want to do that will help with your confidence is to set your own boundaries and stick to them. And this is important. Set boundaries and stick to them. There are people, yes, who will not be satisfied with the boundaries that you have set for yourself. But the ones who like you, the ones who mean you well, your boundaries will not be a problem to them. Now, there are many times people will come and say to me, all right, I'd like you to do, I'd like you to direct this show for me, or I'd like you to do this performance for me, or create this performance for me, but I don't have any money. And so, but I'd like to do it for exposure, for charity. The answer is no on some occasions. And that's one of the boundaries that sometimes we don't know how to set no and mean no. Yes, without having others being offended. Do not allow anybody to make you feel guilty for establishing your own boundaries. Yes, or for saying no to something that does not serve you. Now, as a performing arts teacher, you're training young artists, you're training people, and also as a creative myself, I sometimes take on task, and people will come and tell me that, okay, could we get some of your students to do this particular work just for exposure? Listen, exposure doesn't pay school fee. Exposure doesn't pay the bills. And so everybody has money in the budget to pay everybody else, but none for the creatives. And so the answer to that is no, unapologetically. And you see, when you say no, people are now very careful about when they come to you, because they know that you are not going to do some things. I'm not saying you can't do work for charity, right? Because we do encourage our students to understand a sense of community and working with each other. But you have to be selective about those. Yes, and so when you tell somebody no about something and then they react negatively, be careful of those individuals. And so as a creative, I am not open to accepting any and every kind of work. And so if it's not worth my while, if it's not aligned with my values as well, I am going to say no. And so because of that, persons within the industry, my own colleagues, people whom I work with all the time, and even people who don't know me generally, know that when you come to me with all the information, because there's a possibility that I might say no. They also learn the things that they can come to you with, because they'll know that, you know what, if I don't have money to pay Miss Reid's students, I can't go and ask her, because they know that that is going to be a no. Because that is because I understand the value of the talent that the Lord has blessed me with. I understand the value of and the quality of work that they're going to get. And because I understand that, yes, I am able to set those boundaries. And you have to get people to understand the value that you bring by also learning to say no. So do not allow anybody to make you feel bad for saying no. Set your personal boundaries, healthy boundaries. And whether this is, and it doesn't have to be about your career, it can be with your relationships, it can be with your career, it can be with just goals that you simply want to achieve. Know what it is that you can compromise on and the things that you're not willing to compromise on, and you will see the difference that that makes whenever it is that you're creating boundaries. Another thing that you want to do in order for you to try to build your confidence is try to be aware of yourself. Yes, self-awareness is important. And you have to do a lot of reflection. And one of the things why I like reflection so much is that as a creative and a theater person, a major part of the work is really reflecting on the work that you've just done to say, boy, what worked, what didn't work, what is it that I could have done differently? Did I handle this situation the best way? Did I handle this conflict? Did I manage this situation? And you have to reflect on it in order for you to be better. And I have taken that kind of reflection in my own personal life. But let me tell you, the reflection can be rough, The reflection can be rough. Yes, because sometimes when you sit and you start reflecting on some things and you say, boy, I shouldn't have done that, or I said this and it wasn't the right thing. It has to be out of honesty, because this is a self-reflection for you. So you have to be honest in terms of where you went wrong or where you went right. You want to be as objective as possible, because what you want to make sure that you do after you've lifted yourself out of that reflection process, then it gives you a chance to better understand yourself, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, know the things that will trigger you and how it is that you can avoid these different kinds of trigger. Know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. Now, as a creative, I like to combine all the art forms that I'm creating. So I like to use music, I like to use dance, you know. And so anything that's new, and I like to use things that are cultural in my work. And so these are some of the things that I like to use. But I'm not a singer. Jano, I was not blessed with that part of the talent. I play no instrument and I can't sing. But I will write. And so I can hear the sound that I want in my head, but I cannot reproduce it. And so when I write the songs, I don't try to do them myself. What I would do, I would find somebody in my circle, a fellow creative who I know can sing, understand the music, etc., and allow them to handle that part of it for me, because I understand that what it's a weak singing is a weakness for me. But I also work very hard, and I will push you and push you and push you and push you and push you in order to get what I want. And it's a strength, but it's also a weakness of mine. And so sometimes I have to listen to the voice of reasoning. So always have somebody around with a voice of wisdom who can tap you on the shoulder and say, listen, you're going a little too hard. And when they say that, you have to also examine self in that moment to recognize that, oh yes, I'm pushing a little too hard, and pull back. So it's about knowing yourself and accepting that, because the truth is, I have come to accept that, listen, I am just a hardworking person who really pushes people hard, and maybe even harder than they would want to be pushed, or maybe they are capable of. Yeah? And having an understanding of that, it kind of allow me to be able to listen to the voices when they come, because I know myself whenever it is that I'm doing something. But I have also accepted about myself that I'm a workaholic. Yes, and because I understand that about myself, one of the things I had to come to appreciate is that not everybody will be a workaholic. And so I would have to find a middle ground in terms of how it is that I'm going to balance. I've also come to accept that I'm a giver. And I've come to accept that not everybody will give the way you give. And when we start understanding that, we create a certain kind of sense of balance. Yes, and so we start feeling more confident about ourselves. And so the part of the challenge in this self-acceptance and this thing about confidence is really acknowledging that you have these weaknesses, acknowledging that you have these strengths, acknowledging that there are some things that really trigger you, either trigger you to be upset, trigger your sensitivity, trigger you to tears, trigger you to work hard. You know, you have to understand and accept that you have these things, because these things are a part of who you are, and then work towards managing these things. And if you're able to do that, you start becoming more confident about yourself, because nobody can tell you anything about you that you don't know. Yes, nobody can tell you anything about yourself that you don't know. Whenever it is that I am in charge of a production that I am directing, my friend Mr. Jones will always say to people when it comes the day before the production or 2 days before, stay away from her. She's not very nice when it comes to this time just before the show. She's not very nice. But I have come to accept that the day before a production or 2 days before a production, I am not very nice. I have come to accept that about myself and find ways in which I can best manage my emotions during those moments. And if after production it means I have to come to somebody to sit with them, to apologize and to talk something through, I will do that, because that is who I am. And once you're able to do that, you find that you become more confident in your work and in yourself as you go about your daily life. Yeah. Now, I said earlier that some of our self-doubt and the lack of confidence is birthed out of our own experiences and traumas. And some of us would have been through serious abusive circumstances, not having positive reinforcement and so forth in our lives. And those things would have just led us to our own self-doubt because we can't see anything. Journal. If you can journal. Or if you think that you're the type of person who really needs therapy, seek therapy. Because what you have to do is to understand the traumas and the triggers and the things that are standing in your way of you being the confident person that you were born to be. Because the truth is, anybody can be confident. anybody. You just have to really start believing in yourself and not rely on external validation. Yeah, that is why I said confidence is an internal work. And nowhere that you can be triggered like when you are doing a creative piece of work, because art is life and life also reflects art. And when you're working through a play and the issues that are within the play or the performance are usually some of those issues that are relatable, you can connect with them. So either you would have had those experiences or somebody that you know would have had those experiences, and because of that it's easy for you to become triggered. And so you have to find a way to understand what's triggering you and how you can overcome it. So if you have to go to therapy, do that, because once you're able to deal with the things that bother you, after a while they no longer become a problem. Because when we have these things that we're carrying that bothers us, a part of us is that we are suffering from a certain kind of shame, and it prevents us from being our best selves. Now, one of the things my grandmother would say in Jamaican parlance and using the Jamaican proverb is that shame heavy fi carry, but it never kill nobody. And so for those of us who are not Jamaican, who don't understand that, translation is shame is heavy to carry around with you, but it has never killed anybody. What it simply means, guys, you can overcome shame. You can overcome it if something in your life is allowing you to feel shameful and it's affecting your ability to be confident. Seek therapy, yes? Do journaling, self-care, something that gets that out of you so you can actually look past that and become the person that you are supposed to be, especially if you are a creative. Because as a creative, whenever you start working with creative material, you'll come upon issues. You will come upon issues, and you have to be able to manage yourself with those issues that hit and touch so deeply, along with the people that you are guiding in a creative process through their own confidence. Yes, and so you have to find a way to work on that, because once you're able to deal with the issues of your past and the things that are traumatic, that are standing in your way, you will find that how significantly you are able to build your confidence once you're able to do that. Another thing about being confident, there's a thing that they always say is that you must fake it in order to make it. Now listen, we sometimes just say it willy-nilly, but that is accurate. Pretend to be confident. Act with confidence. Take your deep breath and pretend that you know what, I am confident. What would a confident person do if this confident person walks in the room? The confident person will step this way. The confident person will say this. The confident person will do this. Start doing that, because over time that will become your default action. Yes, start it, because start telling yourself that I am confident and this is how I am going to be. Even if when you start acting that way, you genuinely don't feel that way, but keep at it. It might make you feel uncomfortable because it is not being confident is not a comfortable place for you. But if you continue, I promise you that you will get there. Yes, a number of us who you see, we all never started out very confident at the get-go. Some of us, we started making confidence. We started walking like we're confident. We started talking as if we're confident. We started behaving as if we're confident, until that become your default setting. And so my recommendation to you would be act with confidence. Yes? Behave as if you are. Fake it until you make it, because eventually you will get there. Do not be afraid to affirm yourself. Do not be afraid to affirm yourself. No. Acknowledge your accomplishment, your achievements, and just celebrate them, because those things will enhance how you feel about yourself. And this was a difficult one for me in terms of affirming self, because I can be very hard on myself as a creative. And so whenever it is that I do a piece of work as a creative, I'm going to scrutinize it. And I'm also a perfectionist. And so if it doesn't go the way I want it to go, I sit and I'm beating up on myself and I'm like, Lord, it just never worked out the way I wanted it to work. It should have gone this way. It should have been done this way. This didn't happen. And I spent a lot of time lamenting on the things that did not go as planned or the way I wanted them. Is that me beat up myself bad, right? And because I spent a lot of time doing that, I really don't get a chance to acknowledge the fact that I would have done this or I would have done that. So for example, when I did I recently directed the Father Whole Long production. This was my first time directing such a large production with almost 80 persons on stage. Yes, and not to mention managing a backstage crew along with the technical crew. So therefore, there was a production of maybe 90 persons or more on the team. And I spent a great deal of time lamenting on the parts of the process that were not nice. I spent a great deal of time lamenting on the fact that, boy, I wanted to change this, and if I had more time, I could do this, I could do that, without acknowledging the fact that, listen, Dorraine, you just achieved a major accomplishment in your directorial career. You have directed a production with a cast of almost 80 people and led an entire team of almost 90 individuals in order to get this production going. Such a massive production. You did that. I couldn't have seen it because I was just lamenting that, boy, I needed more time. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And so initially, I did not acknowledge and celebrate my own accomplishment. And it was a beautiful place. So many persons came, so many persons enjoyed it because of some of the directorial choices that I made. But I was beating up on myself. I was not affirming me, yes, in the fact that I did this. And it took a while for me to get there. I had to first let go of what I did not get to do and the things I wanted to do, and started looking at the big picture, everything, and recognizing that, oh, but you have accomplished something, and started celebrating that accomplishment. And I'm not alone. I'm sure there are other persons like that, is that we focus so much on what it is that didn't work, or the little mistake that we make, or we might say, oh, this is not such a big thing. Yes, it's a big thing. Once you accomplish it, it's a big thing. Practice to celebrate you and every single accomplishment. And I'm not talking about being conceited about it, but just acknowledging that you would have done something, commending yourself for taking it on, commending yourself for completing it, and commending yourself for completing it so successfully. And if we're able to focus on some of these things, would be surprised to see how much confidence we grow in. The truth is, as I said, confidence is not a one-time thing. It's really an ongoing journey, something that you have to keep doing over and over, because you can lose your confidence. Things can break you. And so there are things that you have to acknowledge about yourself. If you're intelligent, you're intelligent. If you're brilliant, you're brilliant. If you're skillful with your hands, you're skillful with your hands. Do the things that empower you. Yes, do the things that empower you. Do not be afraid to grow. Be open, adapt to changes in life. And because that's also something that beat up some of us, because we are so set in our way whenever things that something changes that we can't change with, and then we start lamenting that things are not going right, and then our confidence starts getting a hit because we are unable to keep up. Be open. Adapt to the different changes, and especially in today where the creative world has changed. And so for my fellow creatives who are moving out there and trying to kick confidence, we have to be open to the changes that are coming and find a way in which we can embrace those things on this journey in being confident. Because you know what, and just when you are a female and you're in certain industries, it's even more difficult for you, because we are still in a society where it is so patriarchal. As much as we've come a long way, there are some people who still think that women should not do certain things. Yes, and they don't believe in female leadership. And because they don't believe in female leadership, they give you a hard time. But you have to walk in with confidence. And trust me, I can tell you that I know, because you see, as a female theater director, it is not always easy. You will meet upon some of those people who will believe that you're not capable because you're a female, and there are those who are going to expect that you will fail. But you have to confidently walk into a space with the group that you are going to be leading and speak as if you know, make your decisions as if you know, be decisive about it, because you do know. Yes, you do know, because you do have those talents. So you have to believe in them as a creative and do what it is that you're supposed to do. Now, guys, confidence is deeply personal. It's a multifaceted approach, right? All the things that I've mentioned are not the only things that you can do, but those are some of the things that have worked for me as a creative when I walk into a space. Yes, a part of it is about understanding yourself, accepting yourself, appreciating yourself, accepting all the attributes and that you have. Continue on your healing journey. Work towards becoming a better person at all times. And if you're able to do that and acknowledge that you are not perfect, yes, you will make errors, but you're also prepared to correct some of those errors, you will be surprised how much growth you can experience in becoming a more confident individual. So it might be a challenging journey, but confidence doesn't come overnight. It is ongoing, and you have to put in a work. And as a creative, if you want to be seen and you want to be heard and you want to be able to demonstrate what you do, you have to ensure that you find a way to build confidence so you can confidently demonstrate what it is that your expertise is telling you. I do trust and hope that you found this video quite useful, right? And that you can find some gems out of it to help you on your journey to being a creative. If you like the content of this video, go ahead, like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. But before I go, just a quick task for you. Just drop in the comment and tell me something that you do to help you to be more confident. Even if you're not a creative, what are some of the strategies that you use to help to be a creative individual or a confident individual? Until you hear from me again, take care, and may God bless you.